experiencing. Not for myself alone, but for those devotees of nonviolence who have moved so courageously against the ramparts of racial injustice. Many of them are young and cultured. Others are middle-aged and middle class. The majority are poor and untutored. But they are all united in the quiet conviction that it is better to suffer indignity than to accept segregation and humiliation. They are the real heroes of the noble freedom struggle. They are the noble people for whom I accept this Nobel Peace Prize.
In spite of the spectacular strides in science and technology, and still unlimited ones to come, something basic is missing. There's a sort of poverty of the spirit which stands in glaring contrast to our scientific and technological abundance.
The richer we have become materially, the poorer we have become morally and spiritually. We've learned to fly in the air like birds and swim in the sea like fish. But we have not learned the simple art of living together as brothers.
The first problem that I would like to mention is racial injustice. The struggle to eliminate the evil of racial injustice constitutes one of the major struggles of our time.
There comes a time when a man must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular. But he must take it, because conscience tells him it is right.
All over the world, like a fever, the freedom movement is spreading in the widest liberation in history. The great masses of people are determined to end the exploitation of their races and land. They are awake and moving toward their goal like a tidal wave.
You can hear them rumbling in every village street, on the docks, in the houses, among the students, in the churches, and at political meetings. Oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. The yearning for freedom eventually manifests itself.
I must confess to you this morning that since that sweltering August afternoon in 1963, my dream has turned into a nightmare.
What the main sections of the civil rights movement in the United States is saying is that the demand for dignity, equality, jobs, and citizenship will not be abandoned or diluted or postponed. If that means resistance and conflict, then we shall no longer be afraid.
We will take direct action against injustice despite failure of governmental and other official agencies to act first. We will not obey unjust laws nor submit to unjust practices. We will do this peacefully, openly, cheerfully, because our aim is to persuade.
Nonviolence has meant that my people, in the agonizing struggles of recent years, have taken suffering upon themselves instead of inflicting it on others. In some substantial degree, it has meant we do not want to instill fear into others or into the society of which we are a part.
The movement does not seek to liberate Negroes at the expense of the humiliation and enslavement of whites. It seeks no victory over anyone. It seeks to liberate American society and to share in the self-liberation of all the people.
I've seen my dreams shattered as I've walked the streets of Chicago and seen Negroes, young men and women, with a sense of utter hopelessness because they can't find any jobs.
Violence, as a way of achieving racial justice, is both impractical and immoral. In spite of temporary victories, violence never brings permanent peace. It solves no social problem and merely creates new and more complicated ones.
Violence is impractical because it is a descending spiral ending in destruction for all. It is immoral because it seeks to humiliate the opponent rather than win their understanding. It seeks to annihilate rather than convert.
Violence is immoral because it thrives off of hatred rather than love. It destroys community and makes brotherhood impossible. It leaves society in monologue rather than dialogue.
Violence ends up defeating itself. It creates bitterness in the survivors and brutality in the destroyers.
I believe in nonviolence because I think it is the only way to reestablish a broken community. It is the method which seeks to implement the just law by appealing to the conscience of the decent majority, who through blindness, fear, pride, and irrationality have allowed their consciences to sleep.
A second evil which plagues our modern world is that of poverty. Almost 2/3 of the peoples of the world go to bed hungry at night. They are undernourished, ill-housed, and shabbily clad.
And I've seen my dreams shattered as I've been through Appalachia, and seen my white brothers alongside Negroes, living in poverty.
There is nothing new about poverty. What is new, however, is that we have the resources to get rid of it. There is no deficit in human resources. The deficit is in the human will.
There is no better way to live amongst men than in a civil and obedient way. That is the only way in which the just law will be implemented. And to those white, decent majority who are concerned, I am just as concerned with white poverty as I am with Negro poverty.
The time has come for an all-out war against poverty. The rich nations must use their vast resources of wealth to develop the underdeveloped, school the unschooled, and feed the unfed.
The agony of the poor diminishes the rich, and the salvation of the poor enlarges the rich. We are inevitably our brother's keeper due to the interrelated structure of reality.
I am much more socialistic in my economic theory than capitalistic. Capitalism has outlived its usefulness. It has brought about a system that takes away the necessities of the masses to give luxuries to the classes.
Ultimately, a great nation is a compassionate nation. No individual or nation can be great if it does not have a concern for the least of these.
The rich must not ignore the poor, because both the rich and the poor are tied in a single garment of destiny. All life is interrelated, and all men are interdependent.
I was at first not so happy about being labeled an extremist. As I continued to think about the matter, I gradually gained a measure of satisfaction from the label. Was not Jesus an extremist for love? Was not Paul an extremist for the Christian gospel? And Thomas Jefferson? We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. And Abraham Lincoln? This nation cannot survive half slave and half free. So it is not a question as to whether or not we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists we will be. Perhaps the South, the nation, and the world are in dire need of some creative extremists.
A third great evil that confronting our modern world is that of war. Recent events have vividly reminded us that nations are not reducing, but rather increasing their arsenals of weapons of mass destruction. The best brains in the highly developed nations of the world are devoted to military technology.
So man's proneness to engage in war is still a fact. But wisdom, born of experience, should tell us that war is obsolete.
If we believe that life is worth living and that man has a right to survive, then we must find an alternative to war.
I have almost reached the regrettable decision that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate, who is more accustomed to a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, than to a positive one, which is the presence of justice.
Unless we can abdicate our humanity altogether and succumb to fear and impotence in the presence of our own weapons, of which we ourselves have created, it is as imperative and urgent to put an end to war and violence between nations as it is to put an end to racial injustice.
Equality with whites will hardly solve the problems of either whites or Negroes if it means equality in a society under the spell of terror and a world doomed to extinction.
There is no separate white path to power, short of social disorder, that does not share power with black aspirations for freedom and human dignity.
We will not build a peaceful world by following a negative path. It is not enough to say we must not wage war. It is necessary to love peace and sacrifice for it. We must concentrate not merely on the negative expulsion of war, but on the positive affirmation of peace.
In the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends.
Mankind's survival is dependent upon man's ability to solve the problems of racial injustice, poverty, and war. The solution of these problems is in turn dependent upon man squaring his moral progress with his scientific progress and learning the practical art of living in harmony.
All men are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly, affects another indirectly.
I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And in turn, you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be.
We have inherited a big house, a great world house, in which we have to live together. Black, white, Easterners and Westerners, Gentiles and Jews, Catholics and Protestants, Muslim and Hindu.
A family unduly separated by ideas, cultures, and interests. That, because we can never again live without each other, must somehow, in this one big world, live with each other.
My life without you, Coretta, is like a year without a springtime which gives illumination and heat to the atmosphere, which has been brought down with a dark, cold breeze of winter.
This means that more and more our loyalties must become ecumenical rather than sectional. We must now give an overriding loyalty to mankind as a whole in order to preserve the best in our individual societies.
This called for a worldwide fellowship that lifts neighborly concern beyond one's tribe, race, class, and nation is in reality a call for an all-embracing and unconditional love for all men.
Thus we find that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that.
When I speak of love, I am not speaking of some sentimental or weak response, which is little more than emotional bosh. I am speaking of that force which all the great religions have seen as the supreme unifying principle of life. Love is somehow the key that unlocks the door which leads to ultimate reality.
We've got some difficult days ahead. But it doesn't matter with me now. Because I've been to the mountaintop. And I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I'm here to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. And I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the power of the glory of the coming of the Lord.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
I have a dream that one day there can be peace in the Middle East.
I have a dream that one day everyone will be able to marry without fear of discrimination.
I have a dream that policies will no longer dictate a school's reaction to reports of bullying.
I have a dream that one day mothers and fathers will be assured that their children can go to school safely.
I have a dream that one day girls around the world will have the opportunity to be educated.
I have a dream that one day medical care will be reliable and reachable to people all across the world.
I have a dream that one day women will be paid the same amount as men for doing the exact same job.
I have a dream that people of color can be able to walk the streets without having to worry about being shot.
I have a dream that all children will have a family or a community that can care for them and love them.
I have a dream that one day no one, anywhere in the world, will go to bed hungry at night.
I have a dream that one day people all over the world will learn to appreciate and celebrate diversity.
I have a dream that one day the efficacy of one's voice is not determined by the size of one's wallet, but by their capacity to act.
I'm gonna take this light around the world. I'm gonna let it shine. Gonna take this light around the world. I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Gonna take this light around the world. I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world. I'm gonna let it shine. Take this light around the world. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Hello! Are you a person of color looking to get a loan, a job, or avoid police harassment?
Please call the 1-800-WHITE-MAN privilege hotline now.
Our Master White Man will come to your rescue in almost any situation.
Avoid redlining. We can co-pay your mortgage, help you hail a cab downtown, and stop store managers from following you.
At job interviews, we can give you that special seal of approval.
Our white men will vouch for your intelligence, and you won't even have to remove your dreadlocks. All right, Jamal.
Girls, are your ideas ignored at work?
Our white men will present them for you. We guarantee your boss will listen.
For Black and Latino men, we recommend our escort service.
With Chad by your side, you'll never have to worry about stop and frisk again. Please note, we cannot stop white people from touching your hair.
And please do not ask our white men about their privilege.
They have no idea they have it! Please, call the White Man Privilege Hotline now!
No, we only accept MasterCard and Visa. White man
Only one. Only one.
First, they came for the communists.
And I did not speak out because I was not a communist.
Then they came for the socialists.
And I did not speak out.
Because I was not a socialist.
Then they came for the incurables. But I did not speak out.
Because I was not sick.
Then they came for the trade unionists. And I did not speak out.
Because I was not a trade unionist.
Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out.
Because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me. And there was no one left to speak for me.